Hola, hola. Welcome to Final Mile Español para mí. My name is Angelica. In this lesson, we get an introduction to the Spanish alphabet and start laying a solid foundation for speaking Spanish without an accent. Here we go. We are going to be studying Spanish letters and their respective sounds. We are going to learn all about vowels and consonants, and more specifically, variable consonants. This is where we are in the curriculum module map. We are in Spanish letters and sounds. There are several lessons in this module. This is the first one. Okay, we start with the vowels. These are very, very important foundational elements. Our pronunciation, our accent is going to be determined right here. This vowel sounds ah. I want you to try to imitate my sounds, okay? Forget about how the letter sounds in English. Just focus on my sound and imitate it like when you were a little kid imitating sounds, okay? Ah. A. It's a pure sound. It's not a, it's a. For this vowel, I, we have to smile. If we're not smiling, we're not saying it right. E. Do it and feel your mouth stretch to the sides. E. O in Spanish is always closed. It's not ah. It's not an open ah ever. It's always closed. O. And U doesn't sound like in English. It's not you, it's oo. Okay, let's repeat them. This is very important. Ah. E. E, O, U. Repeat them out loud with me. Okay? In Spanish, the vowels are always strong and individually pronounced. Every syllable, which is a part of a word, has at least one vowel. There are no short vowels in Spanish. Okay? We shorten the vowels in English a lot, but not in Spanish. Every vowel. If you can just remember that one thing about speaking Spanish correctly, is you have to have strong individually pronounced vowels. That's going to help tremendously. Okay? If you have 2 or 3 vowels together, they don't come together to make a new sound. They each have to be voiced individually. Okay? All the other letters of the alphabet that are not vowels, a, e, I, o, u are the vowels. All the others are called consonants, okay? We need to start building our vocabulary to be talking about the components of a language. So we have vowels and consonants. This is the Spanish alphabet, okay? Don't worry about learning the names of the letters, but I do want you to see the whole alphabet together, so I am going to read the letters for you. A, B, C, D, E, that's the second vowel, F, G, H, I, remember smile, I, J, K, L, M, N. If you are thinking this is looking very much like the English alphabet, so far you are 100% correct. In fact, the only letter that is different from the English alphabet is the one coming up. Ñ. It sounds like NY in cañe. Ñ. O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, which translated just means W, X, Y, which translated means Greek I, and Z. 27 letters in the Spanish alphabet. All the same letters that we have in the English alphabet, plus the special ñ. We have 5 vowels, and the rest are called what? Consonants. If we have 27, then that means that we have 22 consonants. If we have 5 vowels, 22 consonants. We are going to learn them all, learn how to read them and how to pronounce them in this lesson. Let's start with the silent H. It's a consonant, and in Spanish, it is always silent. So let's review. I hope you are pronouncing these things out loud with me, okay? We need to start naturalizing this. We are training your brain to make the right sounds when they see the letters. So when you are reading Spanish, that first letter here is always going to sound A, E, smile, E, O, U. Okay, so the title of the slide is H is silent. What does that sound like? If H is silent, then it's going to sound exactly like the vowel. A, E, O, U. Remember, we are training our brains to say these things when it sees these letters. Okay, so I want you looking at the letters and making the sounds. Again, we are doing that middle line there. A, E, O, U. This is where we start establishing the habits that we need that will lead to a perfect Spanish accent. Okay, so if HA is A and not ha, the way it would be in English, then how do we write ha? Well, JA, okay? And this is where it can get a little confusing, but don't you worry, okay? With the practice, it will all become second nature, okay? JA in Spanish is not ja, it's ha. It is a sound a little bit stronger than the English H. Okay, so try to imitate my sound. Ha, he, ho, who. Okay, before we move on, okay, let's look at the top line. That's only the vowels. A, E, O, U. Given that H is silent, okay, we are putting our eyes on the middle line and making the sounds. Even though the H is there, that's still A, E, O, U. And we are now speaking Spanish, so the bottom line is going to be ja, he, ho, who. Excelente. H is silent. Okay, time to start practicing. Remember, each vowel has to be sounded individually and the H is silent. So, what is your best guess as to how we would pronounce this word? Hielo. Blended. Hielo. Hielo. Say it. Okay, here we don't want to say okay? That is not the sound of the E, okay? It is a nice, long, pure sound like this. Hermana. I want to hear that long E before you start the next consonant. Hermana. Do you hear the vowels? They are strong. They are long. Remember to smile. Okay, here we go. Historia. Historia. H is silent. Figure it out. Ahora. This is an indigenous word. It's very regional in other places of the world. They have a different word for it, mani, but this lends itself to the example here. So this is going to be cacahuate, cacahuate. This should be easy. Give it a try. Hoy. Okay, again, H is silent. Anhelar, anhelar. So the H is silent, but it is not insignificant. Certainly you have heard this word before. Hola, ¿cómo estás? It's a greeting. What happens, what is the difference when we forget to put the H there when we write it? Well, we know that hola is a greeting, hola with an H, but if we leave the H out when we write it, it means something very different. It means an ocean wave. Okay, so reviewing in your head, remember we are building a mental model of the language. And don't stress about remembering everything, right? You're going to do the homework and practice exercise, and that is going to remind you of everything that you learned in the lesson, and you're going to get to practice it, okay? So for now, relax, okay? No stress. Stress is not good for learning. So now we are going to learn about variable consonants. We have vowels, 5 vowels, 22 consonants. Out of those 22 consonants, Spanish has only two variable consonants, C and G. What does it mean to be variable? It means that the sound of the consonant varies depending on the letter that follows. Their sound changes when they are followed by E or I. Okay, we're going to learn all about it in just a moment. Just breathe and have fun with this, okay? We are imitating sounds. This is our first introduction. We want to have a solid foundation. No need to stress about memorizing because you can always come back and watch the lesson again and again. Okay, our first variable consonant, C. And it's actually a variable consonant in English as well. C in cat sounds like a K, right? But C in celebrity sounds more like an S. Century sounds like an S. So the C is also variable in English. Okay. The S sounds just like it does in English. Okay. We already know our vowel sounds, so this is our opportunity to practice it. Okay. Here we go. Sa, se, si, so, su. In neutral Spanish, which is what we are studying here, what 92% of the Spanish-speaking population of the world speaks, and what we speak here on the American continent, the Z sounds exactly like an S. We do not have a Z sound. There is a slightly different sound in Spain, but here you're going to hear the Z just like an S. So this set of syllables is exactly the same. It sounds exactly the same as the first line above. So this is going to be sa, se, si, so, su. As you read them, remember you are telling your brain, when you see those two letters, Z-A, you say sa. Then Z-E, se, and so on, okay? We are doing all this intentionally. We know that we need to train our brain to associate certain sounds with certain letters. Okay, here we go with our variable consonant C. Okay, so C followed by A in Spanish sounds just like C followed by A in English. Ka. Okay, if CA is ka, what is CE? It says, I don't want to stay down here where I have to sound like a K. I'd rather go up here in this area where I can sound like an S. CE is se. CI does the same thing. CI is C. Remember the smile. So far we have ka, se, C. Let's see what happens with CO. CO stays down here, so it has that K sound, that hard K sound. So CO is ko and CU is ku. Okay, again, looking at the letters, make the sounds. Ka, se, si, ko, ku. It begs the question, doesn't it? Look at this big, great, gaping hole that we have here. If CA is K and CE is C, how do we write que? I'm sure most of you have seen this word before. It's a question word meaning what? Okay, here we go. That's que. The U is silent. U after Q is silent. So this is how we write que, and the same pattern for writing key. We also use ki, but that's only for words. It's only used in words that start with kilo, meaning 1,000. They are of Greek origin. Other than that, we don't see ki in Spanish words. Okay, so now we have a complete set. So again, training your brain. Look at these two letters and say ka. Look at these three and say que, ki, ko, ku. One more time. Ka, que, ki, ko, ku. And this is the alternative key, only in kilo. Okay, so all the consonants on the top half of the screen are going to have an S sound. Sa, se, si, so, su. Okay, let's move on. Let's practice the soft C. Okay, you are looking at the letters. This is your opportunity. Tell your brain, what does that sound like? Sa, se, si, so, su. Remember to smile. Remember to open your mouth when you say sa. Again, sa, se, si, so, su. And say si. Soft C here. Read the words. Sapo. Long vowels. Get in the habit right now before we do any more repetitions or anything. This is your opportunity to lay the foundation with good, excellent habits that will only reinforce a natural Spanish accent. No Z sound. Zapato, sed, ceder, cima, silla, solo, zócalo. And now let's practice words with the hard C sound, meaning like a K. Okay? Look at the syllables and pronounce them. Okay? With the intent of remembering. Okay? We're being very intentional here. We are training our brain. Ka, que, ki, ko, ku. And ki is an alternative way of writing ki. I'm sure you know this word. Okay, say it with long vowels. Casa. Read this. Queso. Getting a little bit more challenging, but let's piece it together, okay? We know what the red letters sound like. Ki, and then we know what this sounds like. En, quien. Coma, cuchillo, and one with the K, kilómetro. I told you, Greek origin meaning 1,000, means 1,000 meters. Kilómetro. Okay, again, look at the letters. Train your brain. Casa, queso, quien, coma, cuchillo, kilómetro. Okay, now the second variable consonant in Spanish. There's only two, remember? And we're going to get used to it. Just trust the method. For now, don't stress. Just go with the flow, okay? G pronunciation. Okay, we've already talked about this. Let's see if we can recall that the J in Spanish sounds like a very hard H sound in English. So this is going to be ja, he, he, ho, who. Okay, and now for our variable consonant. The G followed by A sounds just like, let's see, gate in English. Okay, so it has that soft sound. Okay, in English it's also variable, but it sounds a little bit different, like digest, right? Followed by E, it sounds je. Okay, so we have GA is ga. Okay, so GE floats up to the top. It doesn't say ge. It says he, just like JE. That's he. And G followed by I is going to be he. Okay? E and I are the vowels that cause the variable consonant sound to change. GO remains go and GU remains gu. Okay, one more time. Here we have a great big gaping hole. So what are we going to do? If GA sounds ga, but GE does not sound ge, it sounds he, how do we write ge? And this is kind of interesting. Okay, so a silent U gets added in between the G and the E to give the G back its original soft sound. So here the U will be silent. Okay, it is one of those exceptions. Okay, so this is ge. Okay, we have ga here in ge. It's going to take a little bit of practice, a little bit of brain training to not voice this U here, to associate the sound ge with these three letters. But you will get there, okay? Just trust, relax. And how do you think we write gi? Yep, if you guessed G-U-I, you guessed correctly. So the silent U gives the G back its original soft sound, okay? So let's do ga, ge, gi, go, gu. And these are he and he. Okay? What about this? There's a U after the G, but it's not between G and E and G and I. It's between G and A. So it is not silent. So how are you going to say that? If you guessed gua, you guessed correctly, okay? Every vowel needs to be sounded individually. So this is gua. So how do we write gue? If G-U-E, the U goes silent, what are we going to do to write gue? Umlaut to the rescue. Those two dots on top of the U, they have a name in Spanish. They are called diéresis, but I don't want you to memorize things that you don't need. So call them the two dots, call them umlaut, whatever you want to call them. That sounds gue. A former student of mine told me the dots reactivate the U. And I think that's a cool way of looking at it, right? So this is gue. How do you think we write gui? Yep. Okay. What does that sound like? It's not between a G and an E, so the U is voiced, so that's guo without the need for the dots. That's guo, and we don't have guu. Okay? So you're going to have screenshot of this in the homework and practice exercise, so you don't need to worry about memorizing it here or remembering it. But you're welcome to take screenshot of it if you'd like. Okay? Let's practice some words, okay? As you see the syllables, read them. Ga, ge, gi, go, gu, gue, gui. Let's read some words. Gato, long vowels. Okay, we are looking at these 3 letters. What does that sound like? Do not be tempted to pronounce the U. The U here is silent. So this is guerra. Okay, try this one. G-U-I is gi. The U is silent. Guitarra. Don't forget to smile. Guitarra. Gorilla. U is not silent here. It's between G and A. So it's guante. Ah, there's the dots reactivating that U. That U is voiced. So that's going to be güera. I like saying this word. You have to smile twice. You can't be depressed here, okay? So the P-I-N, it's not pin like in English. That is a short I, okay? P-I-N sounds in Spanish. You have to smile, remember? Pingüino. Okay, now the hard G sound. Remember, this is a hard H, English H sound. Ja. Make the sounds with me, looking at the letters. Ja, he, ho, who. He, he. They sound exactly the same. J-E and G-E are he. J-I and G-I are he. Let's do some words. Jarro. Jefe. Jícama. Joven. Jugo. Gerente. Gigante. Gema. Okay, other notable letters of the alphabet. Double L. What does double L sound like in Spanish? It sounds like a strong Y in neutral Spanish. In Argentina, it sounds a lot stronger than that, almost like an SH. But we are doing neutral Spanish, okay? So like a strong Y. Llamar. Callar. Llorar. CH sounds just like CH in English. It's kind of interesting because there is an area in northern Mexico where they can't make the CH sound. So it sounds just like SH, okay? But neutral Spanish sounds like CH and cheese, okay? Muchacha. In an area of northern Mexico, this would sound muchacha, okay? But I don't want you to say that, okay? We are doing neutral Spanish, muchacha. Okay, here's 2 vowels next to each other. What are we going to do with them? We are going to say them both. Chiapas. Everybody knows how to say that. Chorizo. Notice that the Z has an S sound. Chorizo. Here's the ñ. We already knew that this was a special letter. Sounds like NY in cañe, or a lot of people who like to hang out in New Orleans know how to say beñe, ñe. Okay, that's the sound. Niño, cañón, soñar, araña. Okay, the V and the B. Roughly about half of the Spanish-speaking countries in the world do not differentiate between these 2 sounds, but the other half does. So what I ask my students is to go ahead and differentiate. So these sounds are going to be exactly the way we pronounce them in English. V as in Victor and B as in Bravo. But, sometimes you may hear a word like viernes sound like viernes. And you'll just have to map that. Okay? Both as V. There's viernes. We are going to say it like a V, like an English V. Viernes. Okay? Movimiento. Say it. Movimiento. As you're making the sounds, make sure that your eyes are on the respective letters. That's how we best train your brain. Gotta smile. Okay, this is not in. This is invierno. Invierno. Okay, the X. Okay, breathe. Yes, it has 3 different sounds, but the most common sound is like X in X-ray, KS. Okay, just like we pronounce it in English. Próximo, oxígeno, xenofobia. However, indigenous words have 2 different sounds for this. So you're only going to find these like in proper names, names of places and names of peoples. There's some really pretty girl names with an X in them. Okay, so it can sound like a Spanish J. I'm sure a lot of people have heard that Mexico is pronounced Mexico in Spanish. Okay, and so the derivative, this is mexicano. So it sounds just like a J in the middle of an indigenous word. Mexicali, the name of a city where my mama was born. Okay. Oaxaca. And at the beginning of indigenous names, it sounds like an S. One of my nieces is called Xiomara. I think that's really pretty. And she's a very pretty girl. But anyways, Xochimilco. Xochimilco. The K, we've already said. We use it in Greek kilo prefix to mean 1,000. We already saw this word once. Let's pronounce it again. Smile for the I. Kilómetro. Kilogramo. Meaning 1,000, right? The W, you will only find it in foreign borrowed words. Even though there is a word for watt, vatio, this is very common to see, and it is pronounced watt. Okay? This is like welterweight. Okay? This is pronounced welter. The Y sounds like a Y in English, just a little bit stronger. There is no difference in Spanish between the Y and the double L, just a little bit stronger than the Y in English. Yerno, soya, yegua, oyen. Okay, now we're going to start talking about pronunciation. Okay, many people are intimidated by the rolling R's. It has a scientific name to it. Okay, it's called a voiced alveolar trill. Okay, we will learn in subsequent lessons here at the beginning in the same module when to make a rolled R and when to not roll the R's. Okay, at the beginning of a word, a single R will always be rolled. So this is Rosa, my sister's name. Carro. Okay, single R at the beginning of a word, double R in the middle of a word. Okay, single R between vowels is the only time that the R is not rolled. Okay, it sounds like a double T in Betty. Cereal. That's a whole separate lesson. We'll deal with that later. Okay. So there is one lesson dedicated to the articulation of R. So we will do that later. Okay. The syllables lesson will teach us when to do a rolled R and when to do the other sound, which we call a flutter R. Okay, the homework and practice exercises provide a whole lot of opportunity to practice these two sounds. Okay, YouTube videos are excellent. The reason I recommend that people look at YouTube videos for this is because different things work for different people when it comes to rolling the R. Okay, so if you're having difficulty rolling the R, you just look for another YouTube video and another one, and there's just all kinds of different recommendations. You will get it. Okay. So we are going to be training your speech muscles to make new sounds. The way we make sounds is, yes, with our vocal cords and pushing air out of our lungs out through our vocal cords, but also doing a configuration of our speech muscles, the tongue, the muscles of the face. So we are going to be training your muscles to make new sounds. Okay? It will be not unlike speech therapy. Okay? And just as important as learning how to make those new sounds is practicing the transitions between new sounds. Okay, so we have to practice them both. It will take time, just like when you learned to do a cartwheel when you were little. Okay, the first one wasn't very graceful at all. You probably landed in one big heap, right? But as you started to get better and practice, it was smoother. So it's going to be with making these sounds in the transitions. I cannot overemphasize strong vowels, not short. If you get in the habit right now of doing strong vowels and never shortening them, that's going to save you a ton of time fighting a foreign accent later. Okay? The consonants are softer in Spanish. Okay? And I'll explain that later, but B, P, T, they're a little bit softer. We will get to that. And similar words are not easier. Why are they not easier? Because your brain looks at those letters and says, aha, I know how to say that. I've been saying it in English all my life. I'm just going to put an O at the end. And now it comes a horrific accent. Okay, so we're going to have to watch out for those similar words and say, I'm not going to fall for that. Okay, similarity makes them more difficult. Okay, what you've been reading all your life, but now you have to read them differently. So let's try right now. Okay, so this looks an awful lot like competent, right? So competent, okay, has short E's, okay, and an open O. So we don't want to say something atrocious like competente. That sounds terrible. We want to say competente. Competente. So, right now, make a commitment to yourself that you're not going to fall for this, right? You're not going to let your brain run off and pronounce it in English. We don't want to speak Spanish in English. Okay, so let's do another one. Okay, limb. L-I-M in English sounds limb. That's a very short I. Remember, we have to smile. So this is going to sound like limitado. Say it. Limitado. Okay? The Spanish word sounds quite a bit different than temperature. Okay? Let's try it. Temperatura. Temperatura. Hopefully you are relaxed enough to imitate the sounds, to sort of, let me hold your hand and walk you through the pronunciation, and you are going at the same pace so that we can start establishing that pace, okay, of speaking Spanish, syllable by syllable. Okay, let's try it. Momento. Smile. Limusina. Okay? In English, we say horrible, right? Open O. In Spanish, it's closed, and we have to smile for the I. So this is, remember, H is silent. horrible, horrible. We are trying to set up a switch in your brain that says, okay, now this is Spanish. So you flip that switch and all of a sudden your brain goes into a different mode and it maps the letters that it sees, the graphic representation, to a different sound because it's a different language. Okay? It will take focus and it will take discipline to pronounce them in Spanish. But you've been warned, and you can at this point develop just the right discipline to do this right from the very beginning. Okay, soft consonants. Okay, remember we touched about this. We touched on this earlier. Okay, they're much softer in Spanish than in English, particularly D, T, and P. Okay, the toilet paper test. So if you want to soften these letters, so for example, the T as in chamomile tea. When you say tea in English, I want you to take the palm of your hand and put it about an inch in front of your mouth and then say tea, the word tea as in English. You are going to feel a big, strong puff of air hit the palm of your hand, okay? When you speak Spanish, you should not feel air coming out, okay? So the way we do the speech therapy thing and we put a piece of toilet paper, we hang it in front of you close to your mouth and we make you say tea until it doesn't move that toilet paper, okay? Okay, so in English we say today. That is a much, much stronger T. In Spanish we say todo. Todo. That is a much softer T. Okay, and there's what we have been practicing with. The word T and then T. T. Try to say T without blowing air out. It's almost as soft as a D. Okay, by now you should be very good at saying the vowels. Okay? A, E. Looking at the letters, make the sounds. E, feel your mouth stretch. O, closed O. U. Okay, so primera means first. Okay? If we are not careful, we are going to pronounce it like in English. We're going to say something like primera. Okay? We're going to shorten that I. We're not going to say this E clearly. We're going to say an English R, and it's not going to sound right. Let me see here. Okay. The way we separate the syllables in English is different. And that is a huge contributor to a foreign accent when you are speaking Spanish. Okay, so that's why we have the syllables lessons coming up, because we want to lay a very solid, good pronunciation foundation before we move on to all the lessons that need a whole lot of repetition. We don't want to cement a bad accent, okay? So we don't want to say something like primera, okay? How do we say it in Spanish? Okay, here is how we break up the syllables, okay? And we already know that the vowels need to be long. So what is this going to sound like? Listen, okay? Follow my sound with your eyes on the letters. Primera. Okay? Now say it. Primera. Yes, make it as long as I make it. I guarantee you, you won't get stuck speaking slowly, right? We are just trying to establish the right habits. Okay? Primera. Just a little bit of a look ahead here on what the next lessons are going to be like to get us to pronounce Spanish correctly. Okay, tarea time. Hopefully you know what tarea means. Tarea means homework and practice, okay? So you are going to find this tarea in volume 1 in the section titled Spanish Letters and Sounds, and the name of this tarea is called Variable Consonants C and G. Okay, this is the homework ID. You can take your phone and take a picture of this or do a screenshot so that you pick exactly the right tarea. And it is only 8 pages, but it is excellent. It is not intended to be a vocabulary builder, even though obviously we have a lot of words there so that you can practice the reading and the writing of the variable consonants and the pronunciation. So let's see what we have here. If you don't have the tareas already, you can scan this QR code, and we are having a promotion for our YouTube launch. And in order to get a 10% discount, you just enter the following code and you get a 10% discount. FMU2, remember it, or get screenshot here. Okay, a little peek at the tarea. This is what it looks like, right? So it reminds you everything that you learned from the lesson. Okay, now it's going to be exactly in front of you. Okay, this is what it looks like. Okay, here you see the words so that you can practice reading them. Okay, this is je, this is guess, this is guar, this is ingeniero. Excellent practice. Let's see if we have a few more pages. There you have it. Okay, lots of words. Again, this isn't intended to be a vocabulary builder. The translations are there so as not to be a distraction. We don't want you thinking it's like, oh, I wonder what that means, right? It's right there. You can learn it if you want, but the point is that you learn to read and pronounce the words correctly. Okay, another page, and back to the discount. And we made it. This is the end. I hope you found the lesson helpful. Don't forget to do the homework and practice exercises to solidify and naturalize your new knowledge. The next lesson is accentuation, where we learn about graphic accents and where to put pronunciation emphasis on a Spanish word. Hope to see you there soon.